Equipco TV, it's going to be larger than life.
Hi everybody, welcome to Equipco TV. I'm Adam.
And I'm Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special episode. I'm extremely thrilled to have with us here Mr. Ralph Suppa. A lot of people say that you shouldn't meet your heroes, but I've known of Ralph for a very long time, so being on the same table with him is it's a very big deal for me. Ralph, thank you so much for joining us. So Ralph, you're with the CAPH. If you could just tell our folks at home a little bit about the CAPH, a little bit about the background and whatnot, if you could, please.
Well, Matthew and Adam, thank you very much for this opportunity. As the President and General Manager, I have the pleasure of running the Canadian Institute of Plumbing and Heating. We are essentially a national not-for-profit trade association. We represent the manufacturers and distributors of manufacturers reps of plumbing and heating products. The H in CIPH is essentially hot water heating systems, and we get to celebrate 85 years this year. We were founded in Montreal in 1933, and we're roughly a $7 million industry.
Amazing.
Very impressive.
Yeah, so glad to have you here at the table to just kind of share some information. I know everyone's going to be really keen on hearing what you have to say.
We're going to get into some questions here, Ralph. Some will be business oriented, some will be on a personal level. I hope you're okay with the ones we've came up with here. So can you explain your career path, how you started and what led you to being the president and GM of CIPH?
Actually, CIPH found me in 1988. I was just a young student out of university looking for a job. I was working for a wallpaper and paint company as the district manager in Ontario. And out of the blue, I got a phone call from a headhunter saying that there is a member company looking for a salesperson. That company was Delta Faucet, and they had to hire somebody, myself or somebody else, and they decided to hire the other person. My predecessor, Ed Hardison, who knew about this hiring process, basically said to the president at that time, if there are any worthy candidates, pass them on to me. And I got interviewed and basically said, I have no idea what this organization is about, but if you give me 3 months, I'll show you what I can do. If not, we'll shake hands. And that was it. So that was 1988. In 2002, I was appointed the president and general manager, and I've been there now for 30 years. So love this industry, love the people, and love serving them.
Well, we'll talk about taking a bit of, unfortunate news and turning that into a real silver lining. That's good job. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's quite an accomplishment.
Thank
Something
you.
to be proud of for sure.
I hope a lot of people can kind of take that message with them. Just because you hit a roadblock doesn't mean it's the end of the road. So, as the president GM of CIPH, like what does your day-to-day look like? What are some of your responsibilities?
So I serve a national board. It's a 17-person board, and we provide policy direction to the board, strategic direction, in light of making sure the mission and vision of the organization goes forward. I work with government, nationally and locally and provincially. I have a 11-person team at the office who work with us. We also oversee 9 regions across the country that have their own regional boards, and they're quite active. But strategically is where we're focused to make sure we serve our members accordingly right across the country.
I'm a big advocate for having a mission statement and a proper vision for a company. Is there any place online that people can go and have a look to see where the CAPH is headed?
Our website, ciph.com, has a wonderful piece of information in terms of who we are and what we do. It also outlines a list of councils and committees and what we do to serve this industry across the country.
Fantastic.
So that's ciph.com.
Upcoming 2019, there will be the Canadian Hydronics Show. Tell us a bit about that.
First of all, the Canadian Hydronics Council is a council within CIPH. It's made up of passionate people, manufacturers, distributors, and agents, particularly involved in the promotion, the advancement, the certification and the advocacy for hot water heating systems across the country. We have trade shows across the country that we have components of hydronic conferences, but we decided to go outside of the realm of Alberta and Montreal and the Maritimes, and we saw a need to hold an event in Ottawa. So on November 5th and 6th, 2019, we will have a conference specifically for education and training with a component of exhibitors where the participants will get to see the best available product knowledge in the industry. And that will happen in 2019.
So if people want more information on that, would like to attend, they can get that on the website?
They can get that on the website. They can contact Elizabeth McCullough or Matt Weisenfeld at my office, and they would be delighted to get that information.
That's right. Or you can contact one of us at Equipco. We'll be happy to help as well. It'll be a big part of our business to be at that show as well.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Well, you kind of touched on this one here, but how long have you been in the plumbing and heating industry as a whole? You know, your entire career.
So my career path with CIPH started in 1988. I started as a program manager. I've essentially done most events and taken care of all the councils apart from the trade shows. And I learned my way up the ladder. You know, the analogy I would use is I started in the warehouse and worked my way up to get to where I am today. So got to be surrounded by wonderful people and leaders in our industry, and I still have the passion to do what I need to do for CIPH.
You know, as a member of the field team of the hydronics installers and designers, we definitely have recognized everything you've done for the industry. So in the 30 years, I haven't been in it for 30 years, but I've known of you for my entire career. You've done a fantastic job with that. Again, thanks for that. It's made a big difference as we've been moving forward.
What are some hobbies you like to do outside of work?
I actually enjoy ice fishing. I enjoy ice fishing and I enjoy traveling, and on occasion I'll read. I'm not an avid book reader, but I like to read what's happening within the politics and what's going on around the world.
And we know there's lots to read about politics right now.
And there's a lot going on right now, but ice fishing, although it seems boring, I find quite relaxing.
Yeah.
And I spend some quality time with my brother-in-law up north every winter.
Awesome. Whereabouts, like how far north do you go?
So my brother-in-law has a cottage in Minden, Ontario.
Okay.
And it's about a 2.5 drive from Toronto.
Yeah.
And we have a nice little tent, little heater in there.
Nice.
We don't catch much, but we enjoy spending time together.
The family farm on Manitoulin Island, where I grew up, we're surrounded by lakes. I'll take you up sometime.
Awesome.
We'll get some perch and lake trout. So this question, I'm really excited to ask. They gave it to me.
Accidentally on purpose.
Because there's absolutely no way I'm going to have a clue what your answer is going to be entailing. But let's give it a go. Are you a sports fan? And if so, what's your favorite team?
I love all sports. My favorite sport is hockey.
Okay.
And my favorite team has been there every year since 1967 is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
We'll get along just fine, Ralph.
All right. The proper question that should have been on that piece of paper, are you a comic book fan? And if so, who is your favorite superhero?
Considering my last name is Suppa, it's got to be Superman.
Yes.
Okay.
Well played. Well played.
Respect. Good answer.
So if you want to know anything about comic books, Matthew's your guy. If you want to know anything about hockey, I'm your guy. We got it covered. So when you're in your car traveling, driving here this morning, out on the road to meet with someone, what is your go-to song? What will we find you singing to loudly in your car?
So on my drive here today, had my Sirius music on, and my favorite song that came on and I blasted it was a song by Kiss, I Was Made for Loving You. And the reason why I like it is because the drumming and the singing. I'm not necessarily a Kiss fan, but that song just resonates with me in terms of feeling good about the music.
With all the time you spent on the council, you spent a lot of your professional adult career in hydronics with the CIPH. Go back to 8 to 10-year-old Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
It started off as a plumber, and then it progressed to be a teacher. And I think in a way, not being a teacher sort of gave me those same capabilities in doing what I do today, in terms of working with our boards, working with our membership, going out to meet wonderful companies like yourself and talking about our industry. So I think what I wanted to fulfill, but not necessarily indirectly, has been fulfilled through CIPH. And that's a wonderful feeling.
Kind of physically has come full circle for you.
Full circle for me, exactly.
That's great. Not a lot of people can say that. So that's a great opportunity to have. You're sitting at home on your couch watching TV. What's your favorite thing to watch? It can be on your phone or your laptop. So if you want to say Equipco TV, that's okay.
I actually was going to say Equipco TV. I admire what you guys have done with the station. I think it's first class. I think what you've been able to do is take this forum, not so much talk about Equipco, but talk about product in a way that I think is fun for people that are learning and understanding what the business is all about. In terms of what I enjoy watching on TV at home, I like comedy. There's a show called The Goldbergs that I really enjoy. It's just a funny show.
That's a good one.
It's a family show. I like shows that also inform and educate me, so I like the Pawn Stars and I like American Pickers. So just from that perspective, it gives me some good information that I appreciate.
So reality TV with a bit of learning into it when you're kind of feeling that, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
pretty cool.
Well, speaking of learning and advancing, like I'm with you. I can't get enough documentaries and stuff like that myself. I really enjoy them. Kind of leads to our next kind of question here. The regulating codes in the hydraulics industry still isn't exactly clear. I think we all know that. So can you expand on who is regulating the industry and what a contractor who plays in that game should really know to be the best player they can be in a part of the CIPH and in the industry itself?
Great question, and I'd have to agree with you. It's not clear. We are trying to make it clearer. We are, and we were the architects of what is called the CSA B214 standard, and that standard encompasses installation guidelines for hot water heating systems. We have been able to get that standard referenced in the National Plumbing Building Code. We have some jurisdictions across the country that aren't enforcing it. They are using those guidelines as a mechanism. Where we're struggling a little bit is working with the inspectors to make sure they understand what they're inspecting to when it comes to those guidelines. They have teeth per se, because once it's in the national code, it's referenced and it's enforceable. We just had a situation in the province of Saskatchewan where they were pouring concrete over radiant tubing, which, as you know, causes a lot of problems. So it came to our attention. We contacted the province and we said, we'd like to work with you to develop a training curriculum for hot water heating systems. They're now working to enforce CSA B214 in their national provincial code. We're working with them now to develop a curriculum for installation and design certification based on the NATE curriculum and now the Fleming College curriculum. So it's taking some time. We're not there yet, but there's an awareness of what we need to do. To reinforce that work, we're working with HRI, we're working with TECA out in British Columbia, and we're working with CMMTQ, which is a corporation of master mechanics in Quebec, to get a national curriculum right across the country that's consistent and enforceable.
Kind of similar to like what the Red Seal is out in Western Canada?
Correct.
I gotcha. As a registered BCIN licensed designer, I carry that B214 with me everywhere. I think the issue I have is from 2016, I believe. When do you guys expect the next updated version of that is going to be coming out?
So the next version of the standard is currently underway.
Okay.
And that will be referenced in the next edition of the 2020 code cycle.
Fantastic.
The key still is we need to work with the inspectors to make sure they know what they're inspecting. Now, when you pull a permit, that's when the inspection process occurs. But when you're talking about a retrofit from a boiler to a boiler, a lot of times we encourage those contractors to work with their wholesale distributors to make sure it's designed properly, because even though you had an 80,000 BTU, you're necessarily not going to put another 80,000 BTU.
Absolutely, yeah.
You got to make sure you do heat loss and all the proper requirements, and that's what CSA B214 is all about.
By in stricter enforcement of these codes, or at least regulation of it, the whole industry itself is going to get better and more efficient as we move forward. The unfortunate thing about it is that we've had kind of lax regulations for a while, or at least lax enforcement of it. this is going to make everybody a lot more dedicated to the cause.
And Matthew, to your point, I think we need to make sure we do a better job of training hydronic installers and designers on the proper applications, because we'd like to see some type of an accreditation that they understand what they're doing. Now, if they've been in the business for 20, 25 years, we'll grandfather them, or they can challenge the test so they can be certified for that process. So we want to make sure hydronics continues to be a viable heating system. We know the comfort it provides, and we know the efficiency they provide. But if we don't have a good trained core of individuals, that's going to dissipate.
Definitely.
For sure. Absolutely.
100%. While we're on this topic, talking about codes and that type of thing, are there any changes coming down the pipeline that any contractors, engineers, or distributors should know and start planning for?
So the current cycle of the National Plumbing Code came out in 2015. It's not enforced right across the country right now. We have some jurisdictions that adopted 2 years after, 3 years after. Ontario has not adopted the 2015 code yet. That will probably happen, hopefully into this year, early next year. That is because of the provincial change they had in government. So there are things that will relate to heating and plumbing that don't need to be up to date. It could be piping, pipe sizing. At a high level, they should again work with CIPH. Check our website, ciph.com, or we can put them in touch with the proper code officials or their wholesale distributors to make sure they're up to date with what's required in the code.
Fantastic. It's always important to stay viable with new changes of the code and also changes in product with the tariffs that are coming through. Currently, right now, we'll see what it all unfolds, but it's a great opportunity, I would have to say, for people to really explore the different products that might be out there to see if there's any cost savings or anything like that, I'd say.
Correct. And the other thing that they should be aware about, particularly in Ontario where we are today, OCOT, the Ontario College of Trades, is looking to recognize hot water heating as a recognized trade. And what I mean by that is there were instances where plumbers were on the job installing hot water heating systems, but they had no qualification to show that they can do that. The OCOT police stopped the jobs because they had no proof that they can do the job. So we were able to intervene and sort of say, let's work together. These are capable people that have the qualification, and let's work with Ontario to recognize our certification training for design and installation. So that's the role we're trying to take at this point.
That's a big point of news. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's good news too. Whether or not you're a fan of the OCOT or anything like that, that's kind of irrelevant. They are the jurisdiction or the body having jurisdiction. So the fact that you're working with them and trying to make sure that everybody comes out on top,
correct.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
On a just kind of, we've been talking about some pretty serious things here. One more last question that I have. In your professional opinion, you have 3,000 followers on LinkedIn. You're incredibly well respected in the industry. Who is bringing sexy back?
I'd have to say Team Equipco. From what they're doing with terms of their EquipcoTV, educating the industry, making it more sexy for the young people coming in our industry. I think the young people are always looking at, why do I get involved with plumbing and heating? It's boring. No, but when you look at the technology that's out there, the innovation in terms of energy and efficiency, and what you're doing to get that message across, I got to give it to Team Equipco.
Appreciate it. Thanks for that, Ralph.
Absolutely.
What can Equipco do to help promote CIPH? As we know, we have a partnership that we've had for as long as I've been with Equipco. What can we do to keep promoting it and get new members and that type of thing?
Team Equipco is an active member within CIPH, not only in Ontario, but right across the country. You're on the road. I think if you can continue sharing the message of why we exist and why they need to get involved, you're in touch with the engineers, designers, and specifiers, and wholesale distributors. When we talk about hydronics, you've got the message to say, you know what, if you need training, there's a place where you can go to get that training. If you want to be updated on codes and standards, CIPH is the place for you to go get that information. If you want to get involved in network and learn, we have those opportunities through our region. So we see agents playing a key role right across the country, and you're no different within this marketplace. So anything you can do to share that message,
Absolutely.
we appreciate that.
We're happy to. You know, you're very well versed and well knowledgeable about this industry. Clearly, you do an exceptional amount of work for the industry itself. How do you create a work-life balance for yourself?
My work-life balance is I'm married to my beautiful wife, Susie Suppa, for the past 28 years. I have 2 children, Anthony and Isabella, 22 and 20, both are in school. I'm in the office usually every morning between 7 and 7:30, and I'm usually out between 4:30 and 5. I always make an effort to be home for dinner no matter what. If I'm traveling, West Coast or East Coast, I always make my travel arrangement that I'm home for dinner no matter what. So that's important to me. I do a lot of traveling, but those are precious moments that I'll never get back. So that is my work-life balance. When I leave the office, my office is left at the office. When I leave home, I leave at home. But unfortunately, with connections with email and so on, I'm still checking messages like everybody else until 7, 8 o'clock at night. But that phone shuts off at 8 o'clock at night.
Awesome.
In our experience with, CIPH, CIPH is full of a great team that you have assembled at your office there. Tell us about some of the key parts in your team, whether there's specific people that you'd like to acknowledge or that type of thing.
The CIPH team, I gotta say, is probably one of the best teams that works in a not-for-profit trade association. I have people that have been with me 26 years and as shortly as 1 year. And I will share their names with you because I think it's important that they be recognized. So, Matt Weisenfeld, who's been with us the better part of 5 years, takes care of our Canadian Hydronics Council. Elizabeth McCullough takes care of our trade shows. Nancy Barton takes care of our annual business conference. Louis Utim-Lund takes care of our accounting. Akshay Sharma takes care of our codes and standards. Michelle Marchetti, who just joined us literally 2 weeks ago, takes care of various councils and membership. Gita, Amara, and Sarah are our support team that makes sure that everything went smoothly. And Kathy Boonman takes care of our manager, is our manager of operations, who does a great job as well. And then we have our regional coordinators that manage our regional affairs from coast to coast.
That's great.
So we got
an
an
organization you have put together. I've met not all of those people, but majority of them, and it's always been a pleasure dealing with them. I think you'd agree.
100%. We were just talking before we sat down about the members of the CIPH team. And as I know that you're all going to be watching this, thank you all so much for the work you've done for myself and my colleagues all across the industry. We appreciate it.
So that wraps up our interview today with Ralph. Ralph, thanks again for coming. It's our pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
We sincerely appreciate everything that the CIPH does for everyone.
Appreciate it.
On behalf of myself and Adam, EquipcoTV, talk to you later.
Peace.